Jennifer Welch had Cory Booker on to ask about the same thing. Do you accept AIPAC money? Is Netanyahu a war criminal? And she very much, pushes back and says this is insufficient. And where Cory Booker goes with his excuses around this, I'd like your reactions to. Here we go.
Look, I'm one of a handful of people that don't take corporate PAC money. I don't understand my Democratic
What
Party.
about AIPAC money? You take AIPAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come from
I read it's like 800,000.
Yeah, but that's a lifetime number of raising tens of millions of dollars. Let me give you the right stat. The majority of my money comes from small dollar contributions. My last report, I think 76% of it came from people that gave $25 or less. So this to me is about, again, we could pick at each other, or we could do what we need to be doing right now, is joining in a chorus of conviction to condemn it. And again, I'm a child of civil rights activists. You think Malcolm X and Martin Luther King agreed on everything? No. Do you think Fred Shuttle, in fact, Ella Baker had lots of criticisms about King. But when it came to the fight, they joined together and created a movement that was successful. And that's really what my focus is. And as the only person in the caucus that lives in a low-income Black and brown neighborhood below the poverty line. I still remember when some progressives from the suburbs came down to protest me, and they were literally chased away by my neighbors, because we are in an urgency. Every day I see it. We are in an urgency where real people are getting hurt. When I go up and down in New Jersey, they don't care about.
Okay, I want to stop there before, and I'll play a little bit more later, but that immediate, I was, some out-of-town protesters
chased
came.
Off the progressives.
Yeah, the progressives came down to protest me, and how dare they. This is classic pitting basically pitting the Black community and working class people against people who care about, stopping funding genocide, which is already, I think, a false dichotomy. He's basically saying none of my constituency cares about money to Israel. And that's, I think, real, total bullshit.
Well, I will say this. I'll say that I'll give my observations on it. When you are Black in America, there is sometimes a tension that goes on. And I've seen it with people. There are a lot of people that I talk to that do feel that way. Mm-hmm. That feel like their situation, remember, South Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they're drinking dirty water. There's a plant around the corner from where they live. They sometimes don't understand, I don't want to put it like that, or they don't agree with any type of political fixation or attention on something happening halfway around the world because of the situation that they are living in. And particularly with Vice President Harris, you saw Ta-Nehisi Coates talk about this when he was talking with Ezra Klein. He's talking about the fact that he still voted for Vice President Harris, mm-hmm. and that he sometimes had to explain that vote to both sides. He had to explain that vote to the pro-Palestinian crowd who didn't understand how he could support her, and then also be able to criticize her on this issue, and to be able to criticize her and her handling of this issue and maintain some type of credibility with certain parts of Black America. Now, sure. I do think things are different now, even than they were 6 months ago. And I know that seems like it's a short amount of time, but I think the starvation campaign that happened in Gaza, I think some of, my homeboy, I'm not going to go long on this, but my homeboy called me up and he goes, out of the blue, mm-hmm. he goes, yo, did Israel double tap a hospital? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I heard that they hit the hospital. People went in to save the people, and then they hit the hospital again. And I'm like, yeah, that happened. Mm-hmm. And his response, man, that's fucked up. Mm-hmm. So there has been a tension there, but I think the interesting thing about what Cory Booker said is that rather than alleviate that tension and speak to the overarching human rights issue that can exist from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, all the way to the West Bank, to Gaza, to wherever people are hurting, it's exploited.
Yeah.
Rather than to have a conversation about what moral clarity on this issue looks like, what it means to actually be in support of people's right to live, move, and breathe everywhere, the oppression between two different groups is exploited. And you laughed. You smiled at the fact that those progressives were chased off. What were they protesting you for? What was their issue? Was their issue maybe something that your constituents could benefit from? Is it why would you laugh at the fact that those people came down there to voice their concern to somebody like you, and they were chased off by people? So that's what I would say to that.
I want to just keep on watching a little bit more, because I think it's still worthwhile to watch a little bit more.
Because we're on camera in an urgency every day. I see it. We are in an urgency where real people are getting hurt. When I go up and down in New Jersey, they don't.
Oh, sorry. And those people are not, obviously, when he says real people, he's not talking about Palestinians. He's not talking about Arab Americans, Muslim Americans. He's not even talking about the people who would otherwise have money that we are sending abroad to do genocide. I mean, this is one of AIPAC's, again, top recipients, and he's out here saying it's actually not that much money. And so, again, I find this a really... I think it's a bad use of identity politics. It's the empty identity politics that so many people have a problem with, that when Democrats employ, because it's usually used to deflect against a very, very specific issue and a specific question.
New Jersey, they don't care about the fact that I took 1% of my money from some group. They care about, what are you doing to restore my health care? What are you doing to fight for my fact that I can't make rent? And in my caucus right now, we're standing up and fighting for those things and not capitulating, as you said, to Donald Trump's attempts to deny 22 million Americans health care, to see healthcare costs double for lots of them.
Well, I think the base feels like right now, and I know that you're in the Beltway, but I think the Democratic base feels like there is a disconnect. Like, we hear you, like when you did your 25-hour speech, I was like, go, Cory. I love this. That is amazing. And then there's a photo shoot with you with Benjamin Netanyahu. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, what in the actual fuck? Like, how can he do that? It was heartbreaking. I felt betrayed. Yeah. And that hang on. And that doesn't just happen in an echo chamber. It's important when there are Democrats like you, where the base, we should make each other better. We need to evolve. And I love that you come on here. We need to have these conversations. It's not a purity test. We want credible messengers, because when we are down the middle and beholden to corporate interests, then we leave this vacuum, and that's how fascism has flourished. And so for myself and a lot of our listeners, when I saw the picture with Benjamin Netanyahu, I felt like it diminished your 25 hours. That's how it felt to me.
So a few things. One is, I work in the Beltway. I live in the Central Ward in Newark, New Jersey. Streets that a lot of folks tell folks, why would you demean and degrade my communities? I keep a little picture here of the first place I represented in 28 years old, which is a Black community that's struggling. And we've transformed our schools, our supermarkets, new parks, urban farms, and the like.
Okay, I can't toot too much more of the Cory Booker there, because the preamble also feels it's a snaky and slimy way of, again, he's doing the pitting, as you said, Van, against, the communities he's talking about and that he represents, and somehow this like pie in the sky issue of me meeting with a war criminal. Well, but it matters. It absolutely matters. And to Jen's point, she's really trying. She's like swearing a little bit, but she's like, it's an indicator of whether and how much you fight for people or how much you fight for a foreign lobby or a corporation. It is an indicator, and the base feels this way. And he's consistently saying kind of like, bullshit. Not my base. Yeah, not.
He's distracting. And I think he also didn't play the clip where he then talks about, well, what about Sudan? And what about, which is another bullshit tactic that defenders of Israel have always done to escape any accountability. about the ongoing genocide and also the occupation. I just want to say what you're witnessing right now is what Francesca and I used to say on our show, Rest in Peace, America Unhinged, 9 months ago. And what we said then was that this is going to be a litmus test issue for Democrats. You cannot distract from Israel-Palestine. You cannot punt it. You cannot both sides it. And we said, this is where the base is. And they said, oh, no, you're the extreme. You're the left. You're the progressives. And then the YouGov poll came out. And the YouGov poll said that the number one reason that people stayed at home and didn't vote for Kamala was Gaza. And we have now seen the polls come out as of last week. For the first time in modern history, there has been a 48-point shift. And this country is now +1 pro-Palestinian. We have seen American Jews, majority of them are pro-Palestinian against the Netanyahu government. We're seeing the poll that came out last month. New York Jews for Mamdani or for him, not in spite of, but because of his views on Gaza. And what Francesca and I said is you have to, Democrats, you cannot ignore this anymore. You have to be on the right side of history. Kamala Harris's campaign took the worst advice, didn't even invite a Palestinian on the stage, ignored its base. And we said, you can't ignore this base. This entire generation is a Gaza generation. And for Francesca, what you said is very important also. It ain't just the liberals. A lot of Republicans, you hear these young MAGA friggin' Telegram Nazis, they'll be like, Nazi, free Palestine. You're like, excuse me? What just happened? On this issue, because they've been radicalized in real time because they've seen a genocide streamed on their phones. Now, the problem here is you've seen 3 speakers. I'm going to mention one more. Gavin Newsom, slick speaker. Cory Booker, slick speaker. Pete Buttigieg, slick speaker. On this issue, these 3 slick speakers had no answer. And what I've been saying, Francesca, is everyone's saying Gavin Newsom for president. And the reason why I'm not hot on Gavin Newsom for president, I believe Israel-Palestine is a litmus test issue. And the second litmus test issue is the broligarchy. If you're taking money from corporate America.
Yeah.
I've known Gavin Newsom. I'm from California. I saw his entire ascent. I said, on these 2 issues, just you watch. He cannot shake it. And Van just revealed it with his interview. He can't shake it. Cory can't shake it. Pete can't shake it. Unless they can shake it and be on the right side of morality and ethics and with their base on ending a genocide, ending an occupation, and ending apartheid, they are not the moral leaders that we need. Because how do you fight for democracy at home if you support a genocide abroad?
You miss one, Gently. And he's not a politician, but he's definitely a slick speaker.
Jet Li?
Van Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Who, in an attempt to be slick, completely divorced himself from any shred of humanity.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching live, and I was like, what the
yeah.
And someone that is, and I mentioned this on Higher Learning, but I would think about this. Mark Lamont Hill has a great book called Except for Palestine, right? And Van Jones's brand is compassion. His brand is, I'm going to show compassion for people that a lot of my people, or the people I seemingly am supposed to be with, doesn't think I should show compassion to. I'm going to get all weepy about this. I'm going to cry about Donald Trump. I'm going to put my arms around people that you do not think I should be putting my arms around.
Yes.
Except for Palestinian children. And when it comes to them, there is no compassion. There is the middle of a joke of like a rapid. And look, that's profound. The reason why that stuck out at me is because that is I struggle to be even able to even articulate what that must mean. That is deeply, deeply, deeply rooted. And if it were anything else, any other situation, dead black baby, dead black baby, dead black baby. Think about that.
Did he?
Like whatever. And so consider that.
Yeah.
So
it means the one solace I take is like there's money. So it's like you're getting paid. Like you're at least earning this money. I would not sell my soul like that, but at least there's like a number behind that. You know what I mean? That callousness is something that has been bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby specifically, and Van is thrown down with them. In addition to throwing down.
Than that, I'm gonna be honest with you. I do. I'll make this last point because I know, but I think that money is one part of it, right? We're talking about people who have been donated to, but there's also an environment where these ideas became circular and were never challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And what actually the truth was, like, you start talking to people, they'll tell you, hey, this thing's been going on for thousands of years. And then you'll go, no, it's not. It hasn't been going on for thousands of years. It hasn't. There was a movement started by one guy in the late 1800s. That movement then took hold for some time. The British were involved. This. We're talking about something that your grandparents could have witnessed in terms of the formation of the state of Israel. We're not talking. Yeah. There's a logic to it and an explanation to it that is simply not rooted in reality, that I think that some people they're not used to having these ideas challenged. And so when you challenge them, they glitch out.
Yeah. I mean, it's anti-Arab and anti-Palestinian racism also at the core of it.
Yeah.
I know you got to leave. Can I make a final point on that? Because I try to be fair. Trump has been president for 9 months. He's been complicit in this genocide, but it could not have happened without Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's trademark empathy was completely missing for Palestinians. Yep. For Joe Biden, it was ideological. For Joe Biden, he's trapped in the early 70s where he might have made out with Golda Meir. I don't know. And for that generation, they do not see Palestinians as human beings. And without Joe Biden and his inner circle, you're talking about that incestuous inner circle that could not be penetrated, that Van was talking about. It was people like Brett McGurk, Jack Kirby, Sullivan, and also Blinken, who are now trying to rehabilitate themselves. And you all should not let that happen, because these people gave the green light to Netanyahu to commit this genocide. They ignored their base. They ignored the evidence of their eyes and ears, because Palestinian life was not worth as much as, or even a fraction of, Israeli life. So in addition to the money,
and they fumbled the election, and they lost the election. Like, on top of that all,
it's also ideological, and bringing it back full circle, it's the dehumanizing language. And I'll just leave you all with this. I visited Auschwitz. I was there in the first Trump administration. We were just talking about the dehumanizing language the Trump administration was using against immigrants and Muslims. We were talking out loud, and a guard leaned in, and he volunteers. He goes, my grandfather escaped and survived. So he goes, I volunteer on the weekends. And he says, this is what he said, I'll never forget. That's how it starts. I'm like, what do you mean? The genocide through language. That's how it starts.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.